Well, a lot of people say that week 13 is unlucky, and for me, week 13 was just one of the most depressing weeks in the entire trip. I had not the faintest idea why a snowmobile worked or how it did. I felt extremely fed up going along at sometimes 40, 50 miles an hour without any control whatever, in extremely cold times.
We're all acutely aware of the repercussions of not crossing the Bering Straits, but we feel very, very strongly that we've done something which is extraordinary and want to now continue to the very end. And drive all the way to New York, and that's what we're doing, and enormous support from London and here. And the Skidoo Trail looks fine and easy, but when you think we've got 8 days ahead of that, or maybe a few less, it's a very, very real problem, and we could have the kind of whiteout that we saw in Russia very easily. It's at the same geographical part of the world, so we're aware of that, and we'll keep pushing on to try and avoid it.
Up there, that's caribou migration. That whole path up there is footprints from caribou going up and over the ridge.
It's quite inspiring when you look at the hills you're driving through. You suddenly realise how tense you've been and how fed up you've been, and suddenly you move out into the mountains, and it feels really good.
Now we're on to a new challenge, and I think we're going to leave the frustrating days behind and travel through some awesome wilderness together, and with all the people we started from London with. So it's, I think it's the beginning of a great new segment of the journey on the way to New York.
I knew it was going to be one of the best parts of this trip, the sort of fun bit, and it's proving itself. It's absolutely marvellous. The countryside is just unbelievable. It's, you know, just look around, it's just fantastic.
But looking back, hey, I can romanticize and say it was a great experience, and some of it was really great. Not a good thing to go 2 up in a snowmobile of that kind of length, but we hadn't got quite as much money as we ought to have by this stage, so we had to. And we kept stopping. Here we stopped at a place called Safety. This is just south of Nome, which is where the Iditarod race. It's the very last stop before they reach Nome from coming up from Fairbanks or Anchorage. And the Iditarod is the longest dog sledge race. And this guy was seen the very last person, waiting for the very last person to come through. So we waited for this person to come in, and she did, and she was covered in frostbite. She'd been completely and absolutely stuck. And her dogs were, well, they had lots of cuts and bruises. And she was extraordinarily brave.
Yeah, those 2 dogs are back there. Carol must be back there. Hi.
It's great, isn't it? I was at this place when the first bloke came in, and I'm at this place when the last lady's come in. That's, how many days later is that? How many days later is it? 10 days. About 10 days later. And she's got her own fan club, us now, because we can't go anywhere, so we're looking after her.
Wind increasing to 20 knots. Outlook, northeast winds, 20 knots.
And the storm cleared and we set off, going off towards Fairbanks. Hours and hours, days and days of just snowmobiling. Actually, if I knew how a snowmobile worked, and I had crossed the Bering Straits, it would have been the most exciting journey one could ever have done. I was looking forward to it hugely. We eventually got to the tree line. These are the first trees we'd seen for about 6 weeks.